Do you ever feel like your career is this giant puzzle, no matter how much you try, the pieces just don't seem to fit? And what if I told you that the missing piece is already within you, just tucked away in your deepest values, key to promotions and opportunities that you never even thought possible? In this video, I'm diving deep on how to discover your purpose that goes way beyond your job title. And I'll be using a 7-step framework wrapped in the acronym purpose to help you solve this puzzle and uncover your own unique career soundtrack. So if you're all about finding harmony between who you are and where you're headed, you're in the right place. Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're crossing paths for the very first time, my name is Nancy. I'm a former airline professional turned workplace leadership trainer. I'm that girl who was catapulted into leadership early in my career, but did not necessarily have all the tools to handle it. So on paper, I had every reason to smile. I had the position, I had the salary bump, the recognition, but inside I felt drained. I was overwhelmed, sometimes even unsure if I belonged there. This is serious imposter syndrome. And this was not until I started going inwards, digging deeper, cross-checking my values, my strengths, my vision, that I started to build a career path that actually aligned. And that is what I now breathe and preach on this platform through topics on leadership, professional growth, career advancement, with a greater emphasis on your mental and emotional wellness. So if you're in a leadership role or you're hoping to take up one soon, my kind of content may resonate with you. Kindly consider subscribing. Press that notifications bell on your screen and you will receive regular updates whenever I release a new video. Thank you so much for joining and growing with this community. Just forget for a second everything that you thought you knew about getting promoted. The idea that the next title, the next promotion, the next line on your LinkedIn profile is what is finally going to make you feel whole. That if you prove yourself enough, if you climb the ladder faster, then you're golden. Traditional career advice often misses crucial pieces of the puzzle. The part that genuinely fuels you. A job title can look good on your resume, but still not feed your soul. So you find yourself celebrating for 5 minutes, but then a hollow feeling just checks in and the disconnect starts eating at you in the name of self-doubt, stress, burnout, or even wondering if you're in the wrong field entirely. So as we go deeper into the acronym, you will be getting insights on a career growth plan that serves you from the inside out and goes beyond metrics. The plan here is to feel powerful on the outside, peaceful on the inside. It's about protecting your mental and emotional well-being and not necessarily sacrificing it as you climb up the corporate ladder. So if you're ready, let's dive right in. The letter P stands for pay attention to your pain points. Your struggles at work are not just random annoyances. These are signals. It's like, do certain meetings always leave you feeling small and invisible? Or maybe it's the projects that drain the life out of you, much as you're technically good at them. Or maybe brainstorming sessions just light you up while finishing reports does the exact opposite. It depletes you. Do you constantly feel like you're working twice as hard and yet your real talents still remain overlooked? These pain points point to deeper truths about what is misaligned. So instead of numbing or ignoring them, start asking why. Interrogate them. They're there, these are your first compass towards your purpose. So why does this meeting drain me so much? Maybe it's always led by the same people who do not necessarily value creativity in discussions. And this frustration may be revealing a deeper call to you to find and operate in spaces where your voice matters. Why does that project light me up, even when it's stressful for everybody else? Maybe there's a skill that naturally comes to you and you haven't given it expression officially. Why do I feel invisible in one area yet so powerful in another? There could be an inborn skill in you that just glows when it's placed in the right spaces. And once it's clear, it's now time to flip the pain into pattern. If every weekly strategy meeting just leaves you drained, or every time you're left out of discussions, you feel invisible, that's not just random frustration, that's a pattern. And patterns reveal truths. So when you see this pattern, you can actually name what's missing. Maybe it's recognition, maybe it's autonomy, and now your pain becomes your guidepost. Think of it like blister from your shoes. If you keep getting them on the same spot, the problem is not in the walking, the problem is not your foot, the problem is the shoe. Same with your career pain points. They're showing you where the things, where things don't just fit. So once you've spotted the pattern, use it to design how you show up at work. Small intentional choices can actually shift everything. For example, if you feel drained doing the back-to-back presentations, but you light up in brainstorming sessions, speak up for more strategy involvement instead of drowning in decks. Or if your pain is feeling invisible in meetings, make that conscious decision, that conscious choice to share one clear idea in every meeting and let that visibility build your confidence. The plan here is to make choices that align with who you are. The letter U stands for understand your values in real time. Values are your non-negotiables. They're not just abstract words that you stick on your vision board. These are things that when honored, you're going to feel alive. When they're ignored, you're going to feel empty. And yes, they're going to show up in your daily frustrations. If you constantly feel torn between work and family, just maybe freedom or balance is one of your core values. If busy work drives you crazy, but solving hard problems excites you, maybe growth and challenge is what really fuels you. So when you feel either deep resentment or deep joy at work, that's your values speaking. Listen to them. Maybe you find yourself mostly occupying these big prestigious roles in every organization where you get to serve, but the office politics just suffocate you. Chances are high that your real value is impact. You want to see your work make a difference, not just to look good on paper. Or you're the type of person who values autonomy over hierarchy, which means that every time you're boxed into corporate ladders, you're going to feel suffocated. And most ambitious people confuse the society's value with their own values. Maybe the society tells you that prestige and money should matter the most, so you pursue that. But if your true value is freedom, creativity, or impact, no title is going to fill that gap. So this is a good time to identify your top 3 non-negotiable personal values. My personal ones are impact, autonomy, creativity. Yours could be different, but when you know your top 3 values, you gain instant clarity in decision making instead of spinning in circles. So you're going to have a filter like, does this decision align with my values or not? For example, if you value autonomy, you'll immediately see why the big title with endless approvals and micromanagement feels suffocating, and you will not force yourself into it. Or if you value impact, you're going to stop wasting time chasing opportunities that look good on LinkedIn but make zero difference in people's lives. You're also going to find yourself going slow on chasing validation at all costs. When you know your values, you stop outsourcing your worth and you stop needing every external gold star to feel successful, because you already know what success means to you at a personal level. And if you work in those highly competitive spaces, you'll constantly be proving yourself, checking all the boxes, pleasing your bosses, collecting the titles at the expense of your overall wellness, and you still feel like it's not enough. And if you're big on balance, you're not going to beat yourself up for not being the last person in the office. Staying aligned with your value is success. If growth is one of your values, you're going to celebrate learning a new skill as much as getting a promotion, because both fuel your purpose. The plan here is to guard from living on other people's terms and standing firmly on your own. The letter R stands for reconnect with your strengths. Many people downplay their strengths because they feel so natural to you. You don't even recognize them sometimes. Your strengths are clues. These are signals to where your purpose lives. Just ask yourself, what do people always come to me for? What do people normally thank me for? What do I effortlessly do that others struggle with? It could be a case of public speaking where you encourage, you challenge, you inspire all at the same time. Or the way you explain and make complex data simple. It could even be your active listening skills that draw teams to you like a magnet. Those are not accidents. These are arrows pointing you to your purpose. And once in tune with your strengths, you're going to find it easier for you to shift from struggle to flow, because work is going to feel less like constant uphill battles and more like flow. Instead of grinding through tasks that overwhelm you, you're going to be leaning more into things that actually come naturally to you. And these are things that you can even do without thinking. Let's say you're the kind of leader who has to force herself to network at every event without coming across as awkward. You'll even have to take an extra cup of coffee just to feel normal, But the reality is that you prefer creating relationships that are far more meaningful and influential. And this means that your strengths find expression in building the deep one-on-one connections. So to honor this strength, you're going to stop fighting what doesn't fit and start creating impact in a way that feels natural to you. In leadership, this has a way of creating a ripple effect. When you're in flow, your team is going to feel it. You'll be calmer, you'll be clearer, you'll be more decisive, and people are generally drawn to follow that kind of energy. You'll also find that you subconsciously multiply impact through others. Let me just explain. Leaders who know and understand and use their strengths will stop trying to be everything to everybody. Instead, they model what it looks like to play in your own lane and empower others to do the same. For example, if you excel at mentoring and developing people, there's no need to compete with colleagues who excel at negotiating deals. When you focus on your gift of growing talent, you not only build, a loyal, capable team, but you'll also be creating long-term impact. And this is the kind of impact that spreadsheets alone cannot measure. Just imagine a basketball coach who insists on being the point guard, the shooter, the defender. It spells chaos. Great coaches don't do it all. They use their strengths, strategy, vision, motivation, and they trust their players to do theirs. That's if you're big on turning good teams into exceptional ones. The letter P stands for prioritize what brings you energy. Not everything you're good at is good for you. I'm going to repeat this for people sitting at the back. Not everything you're good at is good for you. Energy is feedback. So what leaves you exhausted? What leaves you anxious? As the French people put it, that's data. Pay attention to it. You might be excellent at spreadsheets, but if you're always drained, if you're always tired to the point of exhaustion, then they're not part of your purpose. And we've been taught to manage time, but the truth is you don't just need more hours. You need better energy in those hours. Just look at the previous example that we had. If you hate networking mixers, but you find pure bliss in those one-on-one conversations, that is your energy telling you where to focus. So protecting or prioritizing your energy is going to mean focusing on that which fuels you over what others expect. And the plan is to guard your energy like it's treasure. That way, you create a sustainable career and not just short-term success. And in high-pressure jobs, in high-pressure work environments, it's very easy to chase those short bursts of achievement. But if you're constantly drained, you're going to hit a wall at some point. So you want to create a rhythm that can actually sustain you long-term. You want to run a marathon with steady fuel over sprinting on fumes. So prioritizing energy turns career growth from a race that you can't keep up with into a journey that you can actually enjoy and sustain, and you will be subconsciously modeling healthy leadership for other people. You'll also be showing your team that protecting your energy is part of success, not separate from it. And this is not just about you. It's about creating a culture where people thrive and not just survive. For example, if you share openly that you get your best ideas after a walk, so you've decided to build it into your day, you'll be quietly normalizing balance for other people. Just tell yourself, anything that you constantly push and pull through, your teams are watching you and they are bound to mirror that behavior. So go for expanded impact and deeper fulfillment over titles. The letter O stands for open yourself to new possibilities. Your purpose doesn't care about your label, Opening yourself means being curious, not being certain. And your purpose has a way of hiding in places that you haven't even looked yet. Just think of the workshops that you happily volunteer to, sometimes even completely unrelated to your job. Yes, you're a lawyer, you're a banker, engineer, but that workshop at your child's school just unearths a deep passion in you for education advocacy. Or the moments when you mentor someone from a totally different department and then you watch their careers taking off in real time just from those conversations. This is you saying yes to something small outside of your usual lane, an insight that actually stretches your perspective. It's not something that you're going to discover in your job description. These are initiatives that are going to expose you to new people, to new skills, to new opportunities that you'd never have come across otherwise. And this is one of the best ways to break free from the box that others have put you in. You're not just the numbers person in that organization. You're not just the project manager in that department. You're not just the IT person in that company. Stepping outside your usual scope is going to give others permission to see you as multidimensional, not just the role that you are hired into. And this is what roots your influence in the right places and also lets you rewrite your story, but from a place of your own truth. Opening yourself to new possibilities is going to equally help you to rediscover excitement over exhaustion. This is especially true for those who believe in all work, no play. Highly ambitious people you'll often hit a point where work feels like a constant grind. You are busy but not fulfilled. You're productive but not energized. You're successful but not satisfied. Every day feels like a deja vu. You wake up, you check your emails, even before having your cup of tea or your cup of coffee. Then you dive into the back-to-back meetings. Your wins fall flat. You land the promotion, you finish the big project, you hit the performance target, but then the joy just lasts 5 minutes and then it's back to pressure. Or, your work seeps into everything. At family dinner, you're thinking about tomorrow's presentation. On vacation, you're sneaking away to check your emails. So you just leave the office building, but work never leaves you. Your calendar is full, but so are your headaches. But by opening yourself to something new, you're going to be bringing back curiosity. And curiosity can be energizing. Just try asking yourself the what ifs instead of the what next. What if I approach this problem differently and not what's the next problem that I need to solve? What if I carved out 1 hour a week just for work that really excites me and not what's the next goal that I need to attain? And the plan here is to replace autopilot with possibilities. And the quickest path is to ask better questions. The letter S stands for set boundaries against the prove it trap. This one can actually feel uncomfortable, especially if you've been conditioned to say yes to everything to prove yourself. Boundaries are not barriers. They are gates that protect your peace and your potential. That moment when you decide and say no more calls after 8 p.m., only to get back your evenings to spend quality time with your family and friends. That moment when you politely decline meetings where there's no clear agenda and your role is not, it's not clearly defined, and then you gain back hours for more creative thinking. Boundaries are not selfish. Just look at them like oxygen masks. Without them, you suffocate. With them, you continue breathing life into your purpose normally, even through turmoil. So when you get comfortable setting boundaries, you're going to notice that with time, you build respect instead of resentment. People can actually feel when you're stretched thin. People can see when you're overstretched. Saying yes might actually win you points in the short term, but with time, it depletes you and it can even lead to others resenting you for diluting the quality of your work. So when you set boundaries, you're subconsciously saying, my time and skills are valuable. This does not shrink your credibility. On the contrary, people are going to respect you more for not being desperate to please. And that way you automatically break the cycle of overwhelm and under recognition. So when you're in this prove it trap, you're doing everything, but ironically, the more you do, the more invisible you become. And there's that great, that expectation inflation where people stop seeing your contribution as exceptional and they start seeing it as expected. And when your impact gets diluted, so will your recognition. And there's also that risk of credit leakage. Your credit is going to leak because you're called upon to rescue projects most of the time at the last minute, but other people present the outcome. And then the credit will always float to the loudest and most visible person in the room. So you hear phrases like, we couldn't have done this without you, yet someone else presents it to leadership. So you're going to be praised for your work ethic, all the while your development goals stay vague because you're doing everything, but people cannot articulate your lane of genius. Where is your zone of genius? So to break the cycle, put a price tag on your effort. Before you say yes to anything, take the 3R test. Does it drive revenue? Does it reduce risk? Will it raise reputation? That is for your team, your organization, or even your personal brand. And if the answer is no, then renegotiate or decline it altogether. It's also okay to set visible boundaries. Like for me to be able to deliver the strategy review by next Thursday, I need to step back from A, B, and C this week. Here, you're not being less helpful, you're being more effective. And also allow yourself a quick self-check. Do your last 3 wins have measurable outcomes tied to your name? This way, you'll start getting noticed, but for the right reasons. Boundaries are not about rejection, they're about direction. The letter E stands for envision the legacy you want, not just a ladder. You know, how do you want to be remembered in each season of your career? What kind of impact do you want to leave behind? And these are the sobering moments where you shift from chasing titles to chasing meaning. When you think of legacy, you're actually giving purpose its power. Maybe instead of being remembered as the first VP under 35 in that organization, you might just decide that you want to be remembered as the leader who did not just climb alone. She made space for more women to show up as the best version of themselves and even challenged them to go for roles beyond their comfort zone. Maybe her mantra was rooted in sharing the spotlight with others on merit. Titles fade, legacies last. Titles tell people where you sit. Legacy tells them why it mattered that you sat there. Let's say you're the head of X, or you're the director of Y, you're the VP of Z in that department. This signals scope right now with one organization. But remember, restructures happen. Markets shift, new hires arrive, the badge loses its relevance outside of that moment. Most people will not recall your title a year after you've left the organization, but they remember what changed because of you being there. So when it comes to legacy, just think of the systems, you know, the people that you elevate that keep delivering value when you step out of the room. You know, legacy speaks to the skills that you seeded, the norms that you set, the doors that you opened, and this compound across roles, across teams, you know, over the years. And let's not forget the psychological safety that you create, or you created, you know, the confidence you sparked, the careers you redirected. Humans remember that. So ask yourself, if I stepped away tomorrow, what would keep working because of me? Who would be better off because of the interactions or the conversations that we had? And then start working on a weekly ledger along those lines, just one line at a time. Like, what will outlast me this week? Do a story test if you need to, you know, like, can someone retell this and act without me? And if not, add context. Focus on building the people, the systems, and the culture, and your impact will keep working long after your job title has expired. If you got value from this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, you know, press that notifications bell on your screen to get timely updates whenever I release a new video. And also feel free to share this video with someone, a friend of yours who may benefit from this kind of content. And then take a moment to have a look at this video right here on the 7 signs that your career is stalling and how you can fix it. Discovering your purpose could actually be the way out. And thank you so much for your company, and see you on the next one. Bye.